views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
This program is brought to you in part with the generous support from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and the New York State Council on the Arts.
Welcome to Bronx Film Wednesdays. My name is Soji Lopez and I will be your host tonight. Bronx Film Wednesdays is presented by Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater and BronxNet. We bring independent films and short films from our 21 Islands International Short Film Festival that you will love. Travel the world and open your mind to stories as far as the imagination can go. In this new year, 2021, we want to bring hope while embracing perseverance and tenacity. With this, we bring you the documentary Water Wears Rock, directed by Álvaro Crespo. This film presents the story of Alberto, a rock climber suffering from multiple sclerosis since he was 17 years old. Against his own limitations, Alberto sets a goal to climb a rock over 2,000 meters, the Naranjo de Bulnes in Spain. Tonight, we will also present short films that tell stories of perseverance, overcoming limitations, and confronting adversity, so stay tuned. We now present our first two shorts, A Fairy Tale and Machinator. Let's watch.
Köprü altı kapkara, Suzan gel beni ara. Saçlarıma kumlar doldu, kumlar doldu, kumlar
şikayetçi?
Ne bileyim hasta herhalde.
Aa, kız sustu. Adam da birazdan dilenmeye gelir.
Gelir vallahi.
Hem okudum hem de yazdım. Yalan dünya senden bezdim of. Hem okudum hem de yazdım. Yalan dünya senden bezdim of. Dağlar otağını gezdim, yiten yavrum bulunur mu? Dağlar otağını gezdim, yiten yavrum bulunur mu? El yazıya, el yazıya, duman çökmüş göl yazıya.
Güzel kızım, sen böyle bağırdıkça ben çok üzülüyorum. Sen benim perimsin. Beni üzmeyeceğini çok iyi biliyorum.
Kurban olam beşikte yatan kuzuya.
coming up next on Bronx Film Wednesdays.
We are so proud to be recognized as one of the leading Latinx theater ensembles in the nation. And we're home to more than 20 artists ranging from choreographers, actors, designers, playwrights, who continue to share their stories and their talent on our stages, both in the Bronx and in Manhattan. The support of our donors not only helps to keep the legacy that Miriam Colon set forth here at Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, but also impacts artists, for instance, in Puerto Rico, where we have been able to institute grants, emergency grants, to artists that were affected by Hurricane Maria, and now most recently by artists who were also affected by the earthquakes in Puerto Rico. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being part of our family.
Coming up next on Bronx Film Wednesdays.
We are so proud to be recognized as one of the leading Latinx theater ensembles in the nation. And we're home to more than 20 artists ranging from choreographers, actors, designers, playwrights, who continue to share their stories and their talent on our stages, both in the Bronx and in Manhattan. The support of our donors not only helps to keep the legacy that Miriam Colon set forth here at Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, but also impacts artists, for instance, in Puerto Rico, where we have been able to institute grants, emergency grants, to artists that were affected by Hurricane Maria, and now most recently by artists who were also affected by the earthquakes in Puerto Rico. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being part of our family.
Welcome back to Bronx Film Wednesdays. Hope and perseverance can't work alone. We need to make decisions to overcome certain situations. Our next short films present how decision-making is key in our lives. Let's watch Title and Farewell.
What do you want me to say? Honestly, what do you want me to say?
I'm trying my best here. You're just ignoring me. As you open something.
What's that supposed to mean? Oh, what was that supposed to mean?
Is that what it means? I love you. I love you. We need to talk. Say something.
I just don't know why you keep bringing that up. It's not. Fine. It's nothing. Trust me.
Yeah, you put it right. Why are you so selfish? Why won't you just call me back? Look, I'm scared, right? I told you no one but you. For fuck's sake, Lee.
Where have you been?
What are you doing?
I was worried.
All right.
Where were you?
How?
Lee? Yeah, back here. Where were you?
I stayed at Tomo's.
The light on, will you? Fancy a Mackey's for breakfast?
The mobile number you have called is currently unavailable. Please try again later.
Trying. Starts going. Straight away. Go on. Oh, tackle.
The mobile number you have called is currently unavailable.
I was worried about you.
What?
I've been trying to speak to you. What are you looking at? Oh, do you know what? You're such a toss. Just fuck off.
Lisa! I'll see you later. Give me a text. I will do, man. See ya. Lisa! 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 What are you doing, you weirdo?
I was worried about you.
I'm all right.
So why won't you speak to me?
Because there's nothing to talk about.
Really? There's nothing to talk about.
No, there's nothing happening, so there's nothing to say. Apart from you're a psycho.
And why am I a psycho?
Because you fucking call me, text me, you just fucking won't leave me alone with all your bullshit all the time.
Look, I don't want to do this on my own. I am fucking terrified.
Well, you know what? If you're fucking terrified, get rid of it.
Do you know what? Maybe I will.
Good. Lisa. Do you swear? Are you serious about this?
I've seen the hospital scan, I swear.
Really?
Yeah. You know, it looked like a wriggly prawn, like when its little heartbeat was beating up and down.
Is it okay?
Well, I hope so. She said it was normal, so... But I'm still scared, you know.
Right, listen. Do you want it?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I mean, don't you want to do stuff first?
Like what stuff?
I don't know, stuff.
No, why? What kind of stuff do you want to do?
I don't know, just... Well, to be honest with you, I just want to have a life.
So, you want to kill it so you can have a life, is that right?
Well, we don't know if it's going to happen anyway.
What?
Well, you know how these things go sometimes.
You know what? Maybe it might be different this time. And it'll love me and it'll never leave me and I'll get a flat. Lee, please, come with me to my dad's.
No, I'm never speaking to your dad again.
Well, you're gonna have to.
Well, I'm not. Because I don't want any of this. I don't want any of it. And I'll tell you another thing. I'll take you to the doctors and then you can get rid of it.
What?
And then you can stop texting me, because I've had enough of you. I've had enough of you, all right? You're mental.
Going out tonight.
Stuff to spoons with the girls. You might go for a dance later. You not going out?
No.
Good. Don't want to see you on the pool.
I don't want to see you, it's embarrassing.
What's embarrassing?
You!
Piss off. I'm allowed to go out.
I'm sure I hear all about it.
Shut up, Lee. You're really pissing me off at the minute. You're turning out just like him. Miserable. Love you. Do you hear me? Lee, speaking to me.
next on Bronx Film Wednesdays.
We are so proud to be recognized as one of the leading Latinx theater ensembles in the nation. And we're home to more than 20 artists ranging from choreographers, actors, designers, playwrights, who continue to share their stories and their talent on our stages, both in the Bronx and in Manhattan. The support of our donors not only helps to keep the legacy that Miriam Colon set forth here at Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, but also impacts artists, for instance, in Puerto Rico, where we have been able to institute grants, emergency grants, to artists that were affected by Hurricane Maria, and now most recently by artists who were also affected by the earthquakes in Puerto Rico. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being part of our family.
入冬最强冷气团报道，气温骤降，感冒、心肌梗塞急诊人数大攀升。光是17号、18号2天，台北市就高达18人猝死，全台各地也陆续传出年长者猝死的消息。围巾手套全部出动，第一波大陆冷气团尽管威力已经减弱，但第二波冷气团紧追在后。12月19号。
佢小混球啊。個機票。
Coming up next on Bronx Film Wednesdays.
We are so proud to be recognized as one of the leading Latinx theater ensembles in the nation. And we're home to more than 20 artists ranging from choreographers, actors, designers, playwrights, who continue to share their stories and their talent on our stages, both in the Bronx and in Manhattan. The support of our donors not only helps to keep the legacy that Miriam Colon set forth here at Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, but also impacts artists, for instance, in Puerto Rico, where we have been able to institute grants, emergency grants, to artists that were affected by Hurricane Maria, and now most recently by artists who were also affected by the earthquakes in Puerto Rico. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being part of our family.
Welcome back to Bronx Film Wednesdays. A river cuts through a rock not because of its power, but its persistence. In this documentary, Water Wears Rock, Alberto is one great example. Let's watch.
Vamos, vamos, tira, levántate la pierna, tío. No solo tienes un agarre, venga, piensa en todos los que tienes. Pisa fuerte.
Me voy, ¿no?
Venga, lúchalo.
Me llamo Alberto García Puertas. Tengo 39 años y estoy diagnosticado de esclerosis múltiple desde que tenía 17 años. Este sitio es muy especial para mí porque, sobre todo recién salido del brote, me costaba más poder correr con normalidad. Entonces, ¿qué pasa? Que me avergonzaba de mí mismo porque cojeaba mucho y la gente me miraba así, corría por la calle. La gente se extrañaba porque corre este tío con la pierna dañada. Y este pinar lo va a significar toda mi vida porque me ha ayudado a sobreponerme a esas situaciones tan duras, esas guerras mentales que tenía con no ibas a poder volver a ser el mismo, no vas a poder volver a correr, a caminar, a nadar, a todo. Ahora mismo no soy ni la sombra de cuando tengo un brote. O sea, es que cuando tienes un brote te deja fulminado. Es que no puedes hablar, no ves bien, no puedes mover las piernas, cosas muy desagradables. He tenido brotes bastante serios.
Yo estuve con un brote que tuvo en las oficinas que tenemos nosotros. Ves que la persona le ocurre algo, no sabes exactamente lo que es, ves que él se da cuenta que le está pasando algo y el que reacciona y toma la decisión de irse es él. Porque de hecho fuimos a correr a un pinar que es donde él suele ir a correr y allí tuvo un brote y bueno, es un sitio emotivo para él.
Aquí he llorado, o sea, una vez me sentí doblegado por la enfermedad y es que me era imposible continuar corriendo, en una sobrecarga de mi gemelo izquierdo tremenda. Ese fue un punto de inflexión en mi enfermedad, cuando me vi que me estaba comiendo mi terreno, mi deporte. Y por ahí no paso. Digo, no, me comerás todo lo que quieras, pero en mi deporte no.
Su gran pasión era pues, ser piloto de aviones. Entonces ahí fue donde le dijeron que tenía algo con respecto a la esclerosis. Algo. Lo primero que se nos vino de todo en la cabeza es una silla de ruedas. Era imposible, o sea, la mentalidad pues, que teníamos todos era pues en unos años se acaba en una silla de ruedas. Él al hacer tanto ejercicio, tanto deporte, pues todo esto pues veíamos que él ponía bastante de su parte y bueno, pues nosotros nos veníamos más arriba. Hay que ser realistas y esa enfermedad hay que llevarla a otro punto y de la forma que lo lleva él, en otro trabajo de menos preocupaciones y tener un poco más tranquilo y poder llevar la enfermedad con su deporte y su trabajo, que es muy importante en ese aspecto.
La esclerosis múltiple es una enfermedad del sistema nervioso central en la que se produce una pérdida. Las neuronas tienen un recubrimiento que se rompe como si fuera un cable y provoca que los impulsos nerviosos que tienen que llevar al sistema nervioso central haya como algunos problemas. El brote es un momento inflamatorio de la enfermedad y es donde tenemos que actuar. Cuando tienen brotes hay que tratarlo inmediatamente para que deje las menores secuelas posibles.
Lo primero que yo noté que no comprendía o entendía que era una de las secuelas era esa voz nasal de gangoso. Yo no entendía en qué estaba relacionado con la enfermedad, con la esclerosis. El segundo punto que vi también es cuando ya le dieron en alta y arrastraba una pierna, no tenía la motricidad que tenía antes y una de las manos se le quedaba entumecida. Y el deporte ha sido algo para él fundamental antes de la enfermedad. Entonces, cuando se lo diagnostican, no lleva una vida diferente que la que llevaba. Continúa haciendo ese deporte a unos niveles en los que para cualquier otro mortal es un disparate. Y obviamente eso le ayuda a mantener a raya la enfermedad. Bueno, te digo cómo acaba en la montaña. Es otro deporte más que practica pues, con una facilidad pasmosa y le he visto con el boxeo maravillado. Le he visto con la natación, le he visto con el triatlón, le he visto con todo. Pero esto entiendo que le está aportando muchísimo de cara a esa concentración, que los otros deportes pueden no exigírtela. Obviamente sí te tienes que concentrar, pero no estás jugándote la vida.
Tú sabes para lo que vas a subir ahí, ¿no?
Para volar.
Eso llévalo claro.
Para caerme.
¿Para qué sirve caerse, Alberto?
Para perder el miedo.
¿Y para qué es el miedo?
Para joderte las mías.
Para enfrentarse a él.
Yo estaba diciendo a la mano que se cerrara y la mano se quedaba abierta. Man. ¿Tú sabes la frustración que te crea eso? Tú imagínate, la mano que quieres cerrarla y la mano sigue así, mancha. Eso te crea una inseguridad para todo. Es jodido, ¿eh? Es complicado.
Venga, fuerte, tío. Sube el pie derecho. Ahí alto, donde tu mano derecha, súbelo alto. Esta vez sí es una excepción, tío. Puedes subir el pie alto.
Vale.
Venga. La idea del naranjo salió de Alberto, de querer escalarlo, y un día me preguntó que si yo le veía capaz de subir ahí arriba, a la cumbre del Naranjo de Bulnes. Tío, puedes subir el pie alto.
Vale.
Venga.
Sí, es una cumbre importante a nivel europeo. Me da mucho respeto. Porque hay un fallo... Tienes que ir muy centrado. Es que no... Tú dependes de ti, pero tus decisiones afectan a tu grupo.
Fuera, tío. ¡Ay! Pisa.
El desafío al que se pone Alberto es, no sé, comparable con como si una persona no enferma quiere subir un 8000. O sea, es algo tan increíble.
La escalada al Naranjo de Bulnes representa una de las mayores aventuras que se puedan vivir en Europa. Es una montaña de referencia a nivel mundial y él con mucho miedo y con mucho respeto, valorando el reto, me dijo que, bueno, que nos lo podíamos proponer hacerlo en serio. Y ya te voy a soltar.
Para mí el naranjo es un reto que tengo mis dudas realmente que lo consiga. Tengo mis dudas. Él está acostumbrado a hacer escaladas al aire libre, pero no de esa envergadura.
Le he oído a mi entrenador de escalada que el agua desgasta la roca no por la fuerza, sino por la constancia.
Tendremos que madrugar, levantarnos como a las 4 y pico de la mañana, hacer una aproximación de hora y media más o menos, llegaremos de noche. Tendremos que empezar a preparar las cosas y luego con las primeras luces del amanecer empezaremos a escalar. Son como 9 o 10 largos de cuerda que completan, pasan por una pared de más de 300 metros. Para alguien que no tiene experiencia en montaña y para estar a esa cota a más de 2000 metros y para pasar tantas horas en la pared, pues es una dificultad moderada alta, más alta que moderada para una persona como Alberto.
El secreto de la escalada, o sea, no mirar abajo, nunca mires abajo. Eso sí que lo voy a hacer, no mirar abajo.
¡Qué buen rollo!
8 o 10 horas escalando con algunas partes que hemos visto en vídeo que son complicadas, yo espero que sí, deseo que sí, y sobre todo por esa capacidad de lucha que él tiene. Por ahí no tengo ninguna duda, pero es que puede ser que físicamente sí el cuerpo le falle, porque muchas veces la mente quiere una cosa y el brazo no, o la pierna no tira todo lo bien que debiera. Y esa es la duda que yo tengo.
Por dentro, por la fisura, más a la izquierda. Venga, ya estás fuera, tío. ¡Ay!
Particularmente, yo sé que lo va a conseguir. Pero nada más.
Pisa fuerte. Me voy. Venga, lúchalo. Venga, puedes irte, tío, Lúchalo.
Vamos, coño, si se puede subir, hostia. No te jodes.
Es que no valoro esa opción de que no. Lo voy a subir sí o sí. Seguro.
Pisa, tío, pierna derecha. Calienta el cuádriceps, eso es. Sí, exactamente eso.
Vámonos.
Hemos conseguido pues cambiar su actitud frente a la escalada una barbaridad. Su actitud era yo no puedo hacer esto es muy difícil para mí.
Esto pinta bien. Vamos para arriba, quítanos a un lado que llegamos.
Cualquier escalador que se precie quiere haber escalado al menos una vez en la vida el Naranjo de Bulnes y haber visto el mundo desde su cumbre. Es una cumbre desde la que hay que ver el mundo sí o sí, si escalas. Es una montaña además que solo puedes llegar escalando y esforzándote, no hay otra manera de subir allí.
Lo que me cuesta lanzar la pierna izquierda, ¿no?
Soy yo en primera persona el que sabe que la enfermedad, como venga para hacerte daño, te hace daño y te impide ni pensar, ni moverte, ni nada. Y sin hablar con respecto a las personas que tengan la enfermedad más desarrollada que yo, quiero decir que lo entiendo y lo comprendo, a la gente que les doblega la enfermedad. ¿Puedo hacer un comentario? Joder, sonreír, hostia, que voy a llorar yo también. Joder, qué serio, macho. Reíros un poco, joder. Qué cabrones. Una cima tan grande como el Naranjo de Bulnes va a suponer algo importante. Vamos, de hecho, ya hablé con Javi que después del Naranjo de Bulnes tendremos que ir subiendo otras cosas para que no baje el ánimo. Y Javi encantado.
Es algo más que un reto, es la confirmación de que vence a la esclerosis múltiple. Llegar arriba es vencer a la esclerosis múltiple.
Welcome back to Bronx Film Wednesdays. Joining us now is Álvaro Crespo. Álvaro is an experienced filmmaker and producer. He has also worked in documentaries from Senegal to Alaska and Madrid. Welcome, Álvaro. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
We're really glad to have you here. We just finished watching your film, Water Wears Rock, Álvaro. So we want to ask you the first question. How did you meet Alberto, your subject in this film, and when did you decide that you'd like to tell his story here?
Well, I met Alberto in a climbing gym in Madrid. We were taking classes. We were taking classes for a few weeks. One day he told me, look, I have this dream. I would like to climb El Naranjo de Bulnes, one of the most important mountains in Spain. He asked me if I could help him. Just with a phone, if I could just help him sharing his experience with an iPhone. Wow. And I told him, look, I think your story deserves to tell in another way, in a professional way, with a whole crew. And I say, yes, of course, I'm gonna help you, but we need to make this more professional.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you came out with all this equipment and told his story. Can you tell us what equipment you used? It obviously wasn't an iPhone.
No, it was not an iPhone, obviously. No. Well, we shoot with 3 different cameras. Well, our documentary started in Madrid, where he's basically from, because he also was born in Asturias, but he was raised in Madrid. We made a lot of interviews there, a lot of B-roll, and then once we had to go to the north of Spain to shoot in Naranjo de Bulnes, we used 3 different cameras. One was like the red one, Gemini, from the down of the mountain. We couldn't take that camera with us climbing at the same time. Right. I had to use 2 different cameras when I was climbing at the same time. One was like the Sony 7, and also a couple of GoPros.
I'm kind of curious, was there ever a moment during filming where you felt, I cannot do this right now, but you still pushed like Alberto, did during the film? And what did you learn about yourself from shooting Alberto's life?
Well, it was definitely hard to climb and film at the same time. There were parts of the climbing route that they were really hard. At the beginning, I never felt that we will not make it. But at some point, as I mentioned in the documentary, it usually takes like 5-6 hours to reach the summit. With Alberto, it took us like 11 hours. So at the beginning, everything was okay. But then after being like in the mountain climbing under the sun for like over 5 or 6 hours, we thought, wow, this is harder than we expected. But everything went perfect. We were a little bit nervous at the beginning, but once you start climbing, all the fears gone. So, and well, Alberto gives you a lot of strength. He's like a constant reminder that everything is possible, and that you never should give up. That's what I always learn from him.
I feel very, very inspired watching the film. So, thank you for sharing his story and sharing that with us. As you said, you are a climber, so you're experienced with climbing. And you started at 4 a.m, I believe the film said. You started like climbing the actual, not the summit, but the actual mountain. And then when you reached the summit, it was 11 hours more. Wow.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we had to wake up like around 4 a.m. and all the crew had to do like a hiking of 1 hour and 1 hour and a half to get to the mountain with all the equipment. And don't forget that we had to do that the day before, because once you get to Asturias, the north of Spain where the mountain is located, you have to do a hiking in order to get to the area of the mountain of like 3-4 hours. There is no way that you can get there driving. So you need to carry all the filming equipment, all the drones, all the tripods, all the cameras, and get there before we start shooting. So yeah, that was kind of like an adventure for everyone. That was a good experience also.
That's awesome. And I also wanted to mention that the film uses plenty of beautiful aerial shots. We see the entire montaña, the Naranjo de Bulnes. So it was just absolutely beautiful. I just wanted to comment that as well. Were there any other challenges of shooting the film during this time?
So at the beginning, we were supposed to, Naranjo de Bulnes, we climbed it like in September, but we were supposed to do it in May. But we had to postpone it because there was still some snow on the mountain. It was kind of like dangerous. So we had to postpone everything, the flight tickets, because our DOP, when I met him in New York, he came from New York to Spain to shoot it. So that was like kind of like a trouble for everything for us regarding the weather issues. But besides that, I will say only the permits that you need to get in order to shoot with a drone. It took us like 3-4 months to get all the permits, because in order to shoot like in a reserve and natural park, you really need to show them what that you are not going to be that you know how to do the right things, right? Because they also ask you what kind of film, because it's not like the same if you're going to do a commercial or if you shoot like a documentary, etc., etc. So that was probably the hardest part. We didn't know until the end that we were going to be able to shoot with a drone. And as you mentioned before, the images are so beautiful, and I think it's a really good part of the documentary.
Can you also explain, Álvaro, the meaning behind and the significance behind the film's name, Water Wears Rock?
Yes, the names come from a sentence that our climbing trainer said to Alberto while he was training. He told him that the water wears the rock not through force, but through perseverance. That became like a mantra for Alberto. That he also defines his personality, like never gives up.
That's amazing. And as you said, you started filming, I think in September, you said, and Alberto climbed the mountain in 11 hours. How long was your entire filming process and your crew's entire filming process?
Well, that day we had to start filming 2-3 hours before we start climbing. So plus the 11 hours of climbing and another couple of hours after that because we had to do an interview to Alberto. So well, as you can see, it was like a whole long day of shooting. But well, we had some beers later. We had a really good dinner later. We were really proud of everyone, especially of Alberto. And so we had a really good time.
And what do you hope, Álvaro, that people can take away most from watching Water Wears Rock?
From the beginning, my goal was to bring a message of hope to who can watch this film with people with disabilities or without disabilities by telling Alberto's story, because he desires to fight against his own limitations. It's amazing. He never gives up. I think we can learn a lot of things from him.
I think another part that really impacted me in the film was that, a family member or a friend didn't think that he can do it. So then when he finally did, we were all like, ah, yo empecé a aplaudir. I started clapping for him during the film. So that was a really beautiful moment. And, thank you again for capturing.
Yeah, it was amazing because Alberto was not used to climbing, these huge mountains. And it's not the same, of course. It's not the same that you go to a mountain nearby your city, you climb for like half an hour, 1 hour the most. But when you have to climb, and we are speaking about Naranjo de Bulnes, it's one of the most famous mountains in all Europe. And there is only one way to get to the summit, and it's climbing. There is no other way that you can get there. And while we were climbing, it was like a huge experience because we really shared a lot of moments together. Because our trainer, he was ahead of us, and we were climbing at the same time, Alberto and I. So I had to see him all this from the beginning until the end. And he was like, there are a lot of moments that I couldn't get on camera because when you are climbing, you have to climb first and then you have to shoot and etc. etc. But there were a lot of comments like, I'm not sure if we can get this. Wow, I can't believe we are doing this. He was like laughing, almost crying at the same time. He was like I was excited as well because it's like a huge experience. So yeah, that was like a really good experience for both of us. We share like a bond together because now we are like always like talking about these moments. Like, you remember when we were like on the wall and we were like thinking that we couldn't make it, blah, 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 and it was really good.
And now you have it in a documentary, right? You have it in a memory that you can always look back on in this film. So that's amazing as well. Álvaro, before you go, do you have any future projects that you're working on? And how can people stay in touch with you and find out about your projects?
Well, last year I had the opportunity to direct a documentary series about climate change. And I would like to keep telling stories, keep creating things with social impact. So we were thinking also with Alberto to create another documentary and see what can we get from that.
And how can we find out?
Yes, like my name is alvarocrespo.com.
That's the end of our show tonight. I'm your host, Sanji Lopez. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time here at Bronx Film Wednesdays.